And it's time for another episode of the Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast, episode 41. Travis, we did not even we've been going over like what we got to talk about on this week's show, of course, presented by Ohsweken Speedway and Bicknell Racing Products. And we were so busy doing that, we forgot to think of our numbers for episode 41. So I'm going to steal one right off the hop. Boyd McTavish, number 41. Driver of a modified right here. Yeah,
Steals
right.
the
So
easy one.
first one that came to mind, so I had to steal it. Make sure that I wasn't put on the spot too much. We'll put you on the spot. Who's the first driver you think of for episode 41?
Since you took Mr. Boyd, I'm going Adam Plazik.
Ooh, good pick. Good pick.
From Ohsweken. There's also an American that used to come up here, from early sprint car guy. He's got a couple of wins from Ohsweken. Mike Lauderborn, 41.
Nice. Good picks. Good picks all around.
Yep.
And where do we want to start? I mean, we got. Why don't we start with Ohsweken Speedway, since we've had their schedule out for a while, kind of know how things are going to shape up for their season. We got the big news about the Pinty Series doing the doubleheader, and then they had a little drivers meeting, and some rules have come out. And let's start with that, Travis, because you were in that meeting, and you got some news that you want to share. I'm sure maybe some things you can take out of that meeting and share with us.
I wasn't actually there. I was watching it on the live stream, though. And it was your basic stuff. The main thing is, I thought they said they're going to cancel the work area or the 2-minute work area, but they're actually just going to allow it for tires only. But I wasn't quite sure if they're going to, I think they might still give the 2 minutes, but I don't know. I wasn't quite sure on that. Anyways, for flat tires or wings only. And then the main thing is the double file restarts for the first 15 laps and going to the choose rule. It's like straight up NASCAR style. So the first 3 guys, the bottom or the top's good, like Ohsweken a lot of times is, and they want the top, they can all pick the top lane. And if you're fourth and want the free front row, you can dive to the inside. Or other ways, guys go to the bottom. You want the top, you can go to the top.
Okay, I like that. I personally like that from the fan perspective because it makes things interesting. I mean, it's going to be a bit of a pain to call because we won't have the digital scoring, and I feel like at some point there's going to be a questionable thing where a guy hits the line and doesn't choose at the right spot or something like that. That stuff's bound to happen. But let's start with first. I want to ask you if, from the driver's perspective, if let's say you're sitting 5th in a race and the 4 guys in front of you take that top side. Are you going to chance it on the bottom side? Are you going to try to move up and start as far forward as possible? Or are you somebody who wants to line up in a preferred lane?
In that situation where the first 4 take the outside, I'm definitely rolling up to the front row, not even thinking twice. Unless it's like the biggest cushion you've ever seen in the bottom ice and it's a 1-laner on the top. But if there's any sort of way to get around the bottom, I'm definitely going to try to do that and maybe not be so nice on the way up.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I think it's going to be very interesting stuff, but we've got what you would do in that situation, but how do you feel about the situation in general? How do you feel about the choose rule coming into dirt racing like this?
Honestly, we tried the double file restarts at the Nationals for the first time, and the track was wide and slick, and it was actually pretty good. So, on the Saturday before my right front shock made a little mishap, I was definitely going forward a little bit, and it was definitely because of the double file restarts. The one restart, I just got lucky and picked off like 5 cars, and next thing you know, I think I was 9th at one point and started, I think, 17th or 18th. So yeah, me and Josh Hansen were going good there for a while at that Saturday show. So it'll suck, but I'm sure Doug will have the discretion. Like if it's a night where it rains real hard and if the track's kind of rough or something, and it's kind of one lane, I'm sure he does that on the DIRTcar Series, I believe. Go to single file if it's needed. But if there's an early yellow in sprint cars and you're single file all the way around the track, like you're pretty dead if it goes green after that. You got to be really, really good to get back up there. So this double file restarts will definitely help with that. And we're getting over 30 cars at Ohsweken, so if there's any drivers that can't handle double file restarts, so I'm thinking they probably won't make the show. So it's going to be 24 pretty professional drivers out there, and we should be able to handle it.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that you hit that last point. You really hit the nail on the head. Like, my first thought is all those times that we've had to go like single file for a restart at Merrittville in whatever division because we can't get the drivers to stop crashing into each other, or we just can't get through a race cleanly. So uh, I don't foresee that to be a real issue when it comes to sprint car racing. Like, from my perspective, I've always noticed, and it always seems like the sprint car guys, whether it be crate or 360, you guys are always the ones who are the most organized. So for me, I think this is going to be fine. It's going to be interesting to try. We'll see what kind of strategy it can bring. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a neat little wrinkle to the rules package at Ohsweken, and maybe we'll catch up with maybe we'll get Clinton Jeffrey on the show in the near future, and we can dive into some more of the changes and things that we can expect to see from Ohsweken Speedway. Of course, Ohsweken Speedway, your home for Friday night excitement throughout the summer here in Southern Ontario. Something else we should probably talk about in terms of Southern Ontario stuff. How about the Merrittville schedule is out, Travis, and I've got it in front of me here. If you haven't seen it, it's up on merrittvillespeedway.com. Just click the schedule button. You'll see it all right there. It all gets started April 22nd, of course, with the Spring Sizzler presented by Peters Construction Group. And then we've got the 72nd season opener, April 29th, the following week. Lots of great events, lots of, your typical weekly racing shows, but, we've got the Action Sprint Tour coming a couple times. We've got a Wreck Fest in the middle of the season, June 11th. We got the Southern Ontario Sprints coming, of course, for the Gary Cunningham Memorial, June 24th.
Yeah.
Lots of good racing nights to kind of mark on your calendar, and of course, I'm going to be there for every single Saturday of those. Looking forward to it, Travis. I guess, obviously, the first things for you is going to be those Southern Ontario Sprint dates that you're going to be looking forward to, right?
Yeah, those are always some of my biggest looking forward to nights are the nights at Merrittville because that's where I started in the mods back when I was 17, and that was my first race car I ever got to drive. I like dirt modified broke my dream of wanting to drive a race car. I got to do it. That was the first car I ever got to drive. So Merrittville was my home track. Always love it, and I love going back there. I usually run fairly decent in there. I either really good or really bad there. I'm either like top 5 or 15th. There's like no in between with me there. But yeah, I just love going there.
Yeah, it's awesome to see. I'm so excited that the Merrittville schedule is out for us now. And of course, if you want to get up close and personal with Merrittville Speedway's race cars, you can do that on March break. Of course, I believe it's March 12th to the 19th that they'll be running the March break Penn Center Mall show. So the Penn Center is kind enough to open up some space for some of our favorite drivers to leave their race cars in the mall on display for about a week at a time. And I'm hoping to see a good car count for that. There's still a couple spots available. So if anybody's listening and they're going to have that car ready, which they absolutely should have their cars ready already, right, Travis? So you make sure you call Lorraine at Merrittville Speedway and get your car a part of the Merrittville Speedway Mall Car Show. Great way to promote racing on Saturday night at Canada's oldest dirt track.
Yeah, that's my favorite part about Merrittville too. It's Canada's oldest dirt track, and I'm pretty sure, it's run every single year, I believe.
Yeah, I don't think they've missed a year since they
not.
started. So
Yeah,
pretty sure Eric Thomas even pointed that out.
yeah,
Something we talked about. Our guest a little later on the show is going to be Dean Reynolds from the Super DIRTcar Series, and it's good to get to talk with Dean and get to know him. And he gives some love to some of our tracks in Southern Ontario, like Ohsweken and like Merrittville Speedway. And something he said, I'd like to see both Ohsweken and Merrittville scanned to be in iRacing. And you know what? I'm going to loosely drop this idea, Travis. I haven't figured out the logistics of how to make this a reality, how to make this happen. But I feel like if we put together a really good petition, we could definitely get one of or both Merrittville and Ohsweken in iRacing with a collective support of everybody in Southern Ontario signing up. So I think that could be a summertime goal.
That'd be
Stay
tough.
tuned.
I think
Stay
there's
tuned for
financials
more
involved
information.
too.
Yeah, probably.
If we
But
get enough traction, I'm sure we can find that as well.
We can make it happen. The
I've
will
heard
of the people.
I've heard Glenn's offered to have it done, and they said no. I've heard that. I forget who told me that. I don't know if it's true or not, but yeah. But I would love Ohsweken and Merrittville and iRacing. That would
make it happen.
I call it my simulator, and like I try to fake that I'm practicing with the sprint car and modified are both two of the most realistic cars on there anyway. But yeah, it'd be cool to practice like for real.
Yeah, I think it would be a service to all of us here in Southern Ontario to see those in the game.
Yeah.
So We'll make it happen. We'll work on making it happen. Something else we're working on making happen is the Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast live. Our first live show. The details are scarce yet. We're working on finalizing. When we have the full details, we will share it with you. But we can say that we are going to Motorama, and there will be a Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast live in some fashion or another at Motorama, and we're gonna have some merch for sale. We're gonna start with stickers at least that you'll be able to purchase from us at the show. So make sure you bring. I think we're probably only gonna have the ability to take cash for those ones.
That's up for
So make sure.
sure.
Yeah, bring a fiver. Bring a fiver, and we'll hook you up with some Southern Ontario Dirt Show stickers that we hope to see on some race cars this summer. That would be pretty cool. So more details on the Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast live to come regarding our appearance at Motorama. That's all I have to say about that for now. A good little teaser, I think, Travis.
Yeah, perfect. What
Yeah.
else have we? One thing I wanted to say about there was still more a couple of rule like at the Ohsweken thing. Like we're going
Oh,
25
fair enough.
laps
Yeah.
now for the crate or for the 360s. Used to be 20 laps. Now we're going 25 every night. And,
That's kind of nice, actually. I like that for you guys. I think that little
Yeah, I don't hate
extra time, I'm here for that, especially for the 360s. I think you guys deserve it.
I have a theory that there's a little bit more through the field passing. Sometimes I see in 410s, and it's because they get 10 extra laps. That kind of helps if you're starting at the back, especially. Sucks if you're trying to lead every lap though, because that's 5-10 extra laps you got to lead for. But I've been on both ends of that, so that's just racing.
I'll do some math, some strategy math for you here. Let's say you're trailing a guy by a second, but you're 0.2 of a second faster. Those extra laps mean that you're going to catch that guy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I always thought 20 was a little light anyway for a feature division. So 25 is perfect for a sprint car. 410s are 30 generally, I think, on weekly shows. 25, 30. So be 25 for the 360s.
Perfect. Something you love to see. Something else you love to see. We should probably touch on our friends over at the BRP iRacing series. We got a little preview of what the finale might look like at Charlotte because we were at Charlotte this past Monday. If you haven't caught that over on the BRPtv iRacing series YouTube channel, you should go check it out. BRPtv is the name of the channel. And Travis, you had a solid run, it felt like, but you got caught in a couple of incidents, I think, as most of the back half of the field did at Charlotte. So just talk to us about your night, and then we can talk about what happened at the finish of that one.
Yeah, mine was good. Qualified 11th, finished 4th in the heat because Travis Miller pulled the Travis Cunningham and hit the infield tire and spun himself out. And Travis pulled the Travis there. And I got 4th in the heat, and then I was rolling around 11th to 12th-ish. And I just made one little mistake. I went to the top and probably shouldn't have. And someone threw a slider on me, and that kind of spooked me a bit. And that caused a little bit of a mishap, I guess. And then guys were kind of getting into it behind me as well. So it was just one of those deals. There was quite a couple of them. Typical iRacing stuff, nothing bad. And got back to 14th. There was 22, I think. We had 3 heats. Decent turnout.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a good turnout. I had 21 cars, I think, total it was. We got to give a shout out to Ryan Susi, who drove from shotgun on the field after wrecking in his heat race. He drove through the field and he almost got by Ryan Beagle. Ryan Beagle was the class of the field for the most of the night, led majority of the race up there. But it was the Ryan and Ryan show. We had a little restart with, I think, about 7 laps to go, if I recall correctly. And Susie was there, but couldn't quite make the move happen. And then DIRTcar Dean Reynolds ended up finishing 3rd. Part of the reason we're having him on the show is to, of course, talk about his success in the iRacing League. But give a call to Ryan Susie because that was one heck of a drive. And if you go back and watch that broadcast, just keep an eye on that 38, that red 38, because all of a sudden he came out of nowhere to be a real challenger at the front. And Charlotte put on one heck of a race. And with Ryan Beagle winning it, I think he probably just established himself as the favorite to take home the points fund at the end of the year.
What?
I think Beags. So. I think Beagle's the favorite. Like
I keep joking. I'm starting TC Esports and I'm drafting Beags.
Oh yeah, 100%. You need to, if you're starting an esports team,
might try to get Ryan Susie too.
Beagle's good. Susie's a trophy
maybe
chancer.
In the hot tamale.
Yep. Yeah.
Just to be a Hellraiser.
I mean,
love you, Ty.
Beef's put together a pretty good team with his esports league. Of course, Jamie Porter, Travis Miller heading up that roster, but I don't know, man. This league is just filled with talented guys. It's a lot of fun,
Yeah, even
and
Higby and oh man, I just love racing
yeah,
with those guys I wouldn't have
Brandon
met. Just
Plank.
like Dean says when he's talking. Yeah, Plank's never in
Yeah,
the Discord. He's always too busy kicking our butts, ignoring us being a bunch of whack jobs in there. But yeah,
yeah, he is focused. That guy.
yeah.
Yeah,
He always pops in
but
to say, "Oh, good race." He says it no matter what he wins or not, but he pops in to say whatever. But he just stays a minute or two,
yeah,
whereas the rest of us are jaw jacking each other the whole time.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a blast of a series. It's been a lot of fun hanging out and doing those on Monday nights, and it's going to continue for a couple more weeks still. And there's still a championship on the line, but I think Ryan Beagle is the favorite to take it home, which would be kind of cool to see. Something else that we got to get into is some of the drama surrounding Troyer,
Oh
and I
yeah.
think to explain this is probably best to let you take the reins on this one, Travis.
I'm not even like all it is. I've seen the Facebook post, and it's like there's a couple of years ago they branched off into like Troyer race cars, and then there was a different company called Troyer Dirt. I'm not sure the names of everybody involved anymore. And but long story short, Troyer Dirt had their jigs to build the dirt cars in like normal Troyer is building, and there's been some sort of a conflict, and they went in one night and took their jigs out of there, and that was it. So now Troyer and like their dirt cars, their jigs are gone. So yeah, Troyer had a similar kind of thing on the asphalt too, I think, or there was another asphalt company that had a similar kind of thing going on. But yeah, the drama over there is insane.
Yeah, it's strange and like it's kind of upsetting. Like obviously
Yeah,
we do have to point out the fact we're obviously sponsored by Bicknell Racing Products, and we have some allegiances there. Somebody has their paycheck signed by the BRP at the end of the day, but I think at the end of the day, it's something we can all talk about. And the more people who are building race cars for people to go and race and hopefully win in, the better and more healthy the sport is altogether. So you don't want to see something like this happen necessarily. And something that Slack talked about too is that, just because BRP has the most cars in the field, that means they also get the most phone calls. So again, it's never a bad thing to have competition, never a bad thing to have stuff like this, or rival teams out there doing their. But yeah, at the end of the day, this drama is juicy or whatever with Troyer. But at the end of the day, the more people who are building race cars drives up the ability for everybody to make good race cars, and hopefully drives up the competition so that we see the best of the best hit the racetrack and hit people's garages as well as project cars and stuff. So ultimately, I just hope that we see Troyer pop up in some way or another down the road. And we get some more people building race cars, because that's always good for all of us who like racing. And something we should probably end off our little segment before we get to Dean Reynolds on is the passing of Brian Mulligan, who, for DIRTcar fans of a certain age, that he's a voice that you definitely associate with the Northeast and modified racing. And I think uh, someone who we really should give a lot of credit for from the Canadian motorsports side of things. I mean, being able to be bilingual and bring that aspect to the racetrack is something that, in a time where I'm sure maybe the French population and French racing fans didn't necessarily feel as included as they possibly could have, Brian Mulligan did a great job of making sure they did feel included. And something you pointed out was the fact that he could call, a race in English on one part of the lap, and then they'd hit the backstretch and he'd switch to French.
yeah, that's where I learned about him, or like started hearing him call races first. Before I got to Cornwall Speedway, I believe that's where he was the head announcer. And but it was at Super Dirt Week. He would always do the pro stock race, and then he would do some of the. He would do lots of fill in during the week as well, because there's just so many events there, especially back when it was at the mile. Same thing as now. Like there's just so many races where they take a whole bunch of different announcers to do it, and he'd always do it. And even at the mile, he would do down the front stretch in English and down the back stretch in French, or try to keep it like that, or he would mix it up a lot. And he just had that voice, and he was definitely one of my favorites. He makes me think of the mile. I can literally hear his voice in
Yep,
my head right now.
somebody who received, and pardon me if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but the Leonard J. Salmons Jr. Memorial Award, which recognizes outstanding contributions to auto racing. He received that in his life. He's also similar to your dad, also in the Canadian Drag Racing Hall of Fame as well for what he did 45 years ago. Mulligan was at a drag strip watching his car take runs down the track. And as a car owner, he always argued that for racers and talking racing all the time. And the guy was just a racing fan who did a great job sharing his love of racing with everybody. There's a great write up from 2010 about Brian up on the Super DIRTcar Series' website. You can check it out there. And there's also some other tribute articles coming up. We'll make sure we try to share some of those for you on our socials as well. If you want to learn more about him and how he impacted racing and brought that bilingual aspect to racing and made guys feel included north and south of the border. Shout out to the legend Brian Mulligan. And with that, speaking of Super DIRTcar Series, I feel like it's time to bring on DIRTcar Dean. Dean Reynolds from the Super DIRTcar Series is going to be our guest this week, and we're going to talk all things Super DIRTcar Series, tee up the season with him, and maybe talk a little bit of iRacing as well with DIRTcar Dean Reynolds. More to come on the Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast. The Southern Ontario Dirt Show is brought to you by Ohsweken Speedway, Southern Ontario's home for Friday night excitement. For over 25 years, Ohsweken Speedway has promoted and played host to sprint car racing, with a new season of family-friendly events to be unveiled in the near future. Catch our own Travis Cunningham as he races weekly in the 360 division each Friday night in pursuit of a season-long championship. The Friday night lineups are rounded out by crate sprints, thunderstocks, and mini-stock divisions as well. In addition to weekly racing, Ohsweken Speedway will also hold several marquee events for the Southern Ontario Sprints, the Action Sprint Tour in their West Series and National Series, as well as a visit from Canada's premier stock car series, the NASCAR Pinty Series, on August 14th and 15th for their only stop on dirt. Mark your calendars, as the 3/8 mile dirt track located in Ohsweken, Ontario welcomes drivers from across the country and beyond for the 19th running of the Canadian Sprint Car Nationals, which is scheduled for September 16th. To keep up to date with the latest news from the track, be sure to find them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. For track information on policies, admissions, directions, and more, be sure to visit ohswekenspeedway.ca. That's OHSWEKEN Speedway.ca. Ohsweken Speedway, your home for Friday night excitement. The Southern Ontario Dirt Show is brought to you by Bicknell Racing Products. The last 40 years plus have seen Bicknell Racing Products grow to be an industry leader for racers and enthusiasts alike. Their St. Catharines location is home to 20,000 square feet of manufacturing and retail space, with a second store in Niagara Falls, New York, and a dealer network that continues to grow day by day to serve Southern Ontario, Western New York, and beyond. Bicknell Racing Products distributes Hoosier tires for much of Eastern Canada, New York, and even parts of Pennsylvania. BRP has everything you could need to keep your car performing at its peak, with genuine parts from the manufacturer. They even have a technical support line committed to helping you with the most up-to-date information and feedback from racers and crew chiefs. Have you ever thought about a career in the automotive or racing industry? Now is your chance to take the leap with Bicknell Racing Products. They are looking for CNC machine operators, welders, and more to join their team this season. Please send all resumes to Dana Curving at BicknellRacingProducts.com. That's DANA CURVIN at BicknellRacingProducts.com. For further information on Bicknell Racing Products and to find a dealer near you, visit BRP online at www.BicknellRacingProducts.com or on Facebook or at twitter.com/BicknellRacing. All right, joining us this week on the Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast, it is the man, the myth, the legend, DIRTcar Dean, Dean Reynolds himself. How is it going, my friend?
Going good. Actually, after this podcast, I actually going to not do the Coast to Coast League tonight. We're going to take a break, and I'm going to go out with the girls. So we're actually going to have a non-racing night for a change.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of a shock.
It's going good. Actually doing a lot of stuff to get ready for our visit to Atomic. So that's going to be a pretty big deal, I think.
All right, since we started with that, this was going to be one of my questions anyway, so we're going to lead with it. Tell me the story of how it became where we're going to go to Atomic with the Super DIRTcar Series.
Funny story. Actually, it started last year where Charlie Vest, that promotes Atomic now, saw us down at Charlotte during the World Finals. And he says, I got to have these cars on my track. He just loved the big blocks, the way they sounded, the way they raced. And then he wound up talking with Casey Schumann, who at that time was still running the World of Outlaw late models. And he mentioned, how do I get the big blocks at the track? And then Casey, gave him my information, and Casey texted me and said, "Hey, by the way, Atomic's going to be calling you about a show." And I said, "Okay." And then a couple days went by, and Charlie called, and then I said, "Let me put together a proposal that I think might work." And I said, being that far out, we need to do 2 days, and we need to get the cars to come. So I put together a purse, and he looked at it for like, I don't know, 6 seconds, and said, "Let's do it." So unfortunately, we got wintered out last year. The week
Mhm.
before, they ran a late model race where it was 75, and then our weekend was 32 and snowing all weekend, so we had to cancel it. And we moved it back a week this year. Hopefully, that'll be the good luck. But I'm looking forward to it. I want to see what we can do outside of our area. And I know there's a lot of people from your area, Travis and all that, going on down, and Jonathan, that where Atomic's not that far. It's like 6 hours, and a lot of people want to go.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's the start of the season, right? So it kind of makes sense. Start of the point season, anyways. But you guys just had a pretty successful run down in Florida. Just talk to us a little bit about your experience down at the DIRTcar Nationals.
Yeah, that went very well. We had 42 cars, and we did get rained out there on Friday, but the track was in really good shape. The guys were running soft rubber, it didn't eat the tires. Money Matt did what Money Matt does best, and take a win away from two guys on the last lap. And of course, unfortunately, one was Jack Lehner, who was going for his first ever win. But Matt's got to do what Matt's got to
Mhm.
do, and I think their focus is in that team, and they're that Matt with the one T is going to try to catch the Matt with the two T's. And I think it's going to be an interesting year. I really do. I think everyone's been buttoning down, trying to step up their programs to give Matt Shepard a run.
Yep. That's the main reason I buy Dirt Vision. A lot of people, like a lot of sprint car guys, buy it for the Outlaws. Not me. I buy it for the Super Dirt Series. To be honest. Okay, where are we gonna go with Diener next?
I mean, we should probably.
Well,
I almost want to go back to the start with Diener because you're one of those
Yeah.
guys who I feel like for some of us, you started as a fan and then you find yourself working in the sport. So just talk to us about making the step into the sporting series out of the stands, so to speak.
my first race, my dad said I was 6 months old. I was born in '66, and he said the spring of '67, I went to my first race, and it was at Orange County Fair Speedway in the drive-in section.
Nice.
And he said I was sitting in a baby chair in the back seat, and he said if I started crying or whatever, he'd feed me a thimble full of beer and it'll knock me right
Mhm.
out, and then he'd go watch the races. And then I did grow up as a fan, and then I moved to upstate New York because when we went to Super Dirt Week every year, I said I'm going to live in Syracuse. That's the area I wanted to live. I wanted to live where Super Dirt Week was. And after I graduated college at Morrisville, I got an apartment in Syracuse, found a job, and then started going to the local races. But at that time, Dave Wright split up with the Patrick family and did his own thing with Auto Racer magazine. And I just happened to stop into his office and hang out, and he put me to work, and I started laying out a magazine, and I really enjoyed that. And I've always wanted to write, and I just started writing at the same time, and it grew from there. And then so I became a journalist with Auto Racer magazine. I worked at Brewerton Speedway one year doing PR, and then I was a main writer for Area Auto Racing News for a couple of years. And then during that time, I noticed that the Empire Super Sprints were putting on good events, but there was no race reports. And so I started talking to people from Empire Super Sprints. Said, "Are you looking for somebody to do your race reports?" Sat down with them, and then he brought me on to ESS at $25 a race. That was my first job, and did the race reports. And then I was around for so long with them that when Dick Carberry retired from ESS in 2006, I was already there for 14 years. Even though Chuck Miller was the president, Chuck just didn't have time to take over the day-to-day operations of the club. So I took over the club, basically running it as far as scheduling and day-to-day stuff from 2006 until I, stepped back last year.
Yeah. So I lost you guys for a second. Did you talk about how you got the Super DIRTcar Series gig already? Or like, yeah.
No, that
Okay.
was kind of the next
That I did
part.
not.
Okay.
That's the next part. So what is funny about Super DIRTcar Series and DIRTcar Northeast is I didn't even try out for the job. Believe it or not, Mike Perotti was, wanted to leave after the third year, but he was going to stay on until they find somebody. I was actually trying to find somebody to replace Mike. because me and Mike talked a lot and stuff like that. And I went to like Gary Tompkins and people that I thought would be a good replacement. Well, lo and behold, I was at King's Royal at Eldora with my dad. That was my annual vacation with Mike Mallet and a bunch of friends. And it was, I believe it was a Thursday of the King's Royal. And we were having a few beers at the campsite and stuff like that. And then I headed on over to the media center because I was doing stories for Dirt Track Digest. And I was sitting in the media room talking to a girl about the Northeast and stuff like that. Well, it just happens to be that she was head of PR and marketing and data and computers for World Racing Group.
No.
And when she went back to World Racing Group, she went to Jeff Hochman and Tom Deary at the time. Says, "Do you know this Dean Reynolds?" Well, I did work with Jeff Hochman when he had Rolling Wheels Raceway because he ran Rolling Wheels for a while before he moved down south. And they said yes. And they go, "Have we ever thought about interviewing him for the job?" And I got a call. I remember this. I got a call on a Monday, and it was Tom Deary. And he goes, "What are you doing tomorrow night?" And I said, "I don't have any plans." He goes, "You're doing dinner with us." I go, "Who's us?" "Me and Jeff. We're coming in for Oswego to do a walkthrough." That's all they said. I had no idea why I'm going. I thought I was going to go to dinner and talk about Oswego because I've been to Oswego before, Super Dirt Week and stuff. As a media guy, maybe they were going to ask me what improvements can you make or what suggestions. And all of a sudden, they started talking about the job, and that's how it started. They flew me down to Concord for 8 hours of interviews then. And then I got the call like a week later, and they offered me the
That's
job.
a big deal
And
for
that's how
you.
I got
Like
the
you
job.
quit your job at the cell phone store and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, matter of fact, when I put in my 2-week notice, it was like the mic drop. And I said, "Look, I was very happy at AT&T.
Yeah.
I loved the job. I had my own store. It was really a nice job and everything." I said, "This is the only job I would take, to leave this job. I mean, I'm doing fulfilling a dream." Now, I knew it would be a lot of work. I knew that because I knew what Mike was going through, and then before that, Joe Scott, Nicky, and everything else. But I just wanted to see if I can help. I said, "Let me give it 10 years, see if I can help the sport a little bit, and then evaluate where I am in 10 years, and then decide what to do after that." And well, I'm starting my 5th.
Yep.
Awesome. I want to take it back to the schedule if we can, because this is going to be the first year in a little while where you guys return north of the border, kind of midsummer here, late July, early August. You're going to see Quebec and Ontario. So just talk to us a little bit about getting back across the border and making sure the Super DIRTcar Series gets a stop, or well, in this case, 3 stops north of the border.
Yeah, Canada is very important to us. You might hear little rumors here or there, but Canada is very important. And what I did during COVID is, we couldn't go across the border. And then last year, I didn't want to book races because I knew you had to be vaccinated. And there's a lot of race car drivers that are old school that do not want to get vaccinated. They don't want to be told they got to get a shot. They don't want to be told this. They want to be told that. And I get it. So I said, "Look, it's going to be tough to still book some races because we just don't know what the border is going to entail, how tough it's going to be." I did keep the Brockville 358 series race on the schedule as I said, "Look, we're going to do this no matter what." I said to the teams, "You're going to have to get vaccinated. You're going to have to go. This is what we're going to do." Luckily, October 1st, they lifted vaccination requirements, done with that. So we went to Brockville. A bunch of Americans went up there, had a great time. It was easy to get across the border, just like normal. And I said, "Now we're booking Super DIRTcar Series races." Well, Brockville and Drummondville stuck with us by staying dirt cars. Cornwall, Granby, and RPM left to do their own things, which that's fine. It's business. I get it. They felt that they can do better on their own or whatever they have, and that's okay. But I gave Paul and I gave Jan Bouchier my word that, hey, you stay dirt car, you're going to get Super DIRTcar Series races. And that's what I did. So then when we get the schedule together, Jan always wanted to do 2 shows. And I always thought that was a cool deal to go back to back at the same track. So there's no travel involved. Let's do that. And then Paul wasn't too high on a midweek show because the last time he ran, it wasn't that successful. I said, "Paul, Super DIRTcar Series hasn't been in Canada in 2019. The fans are going to
Oh,
want to
yeah.
be there." I said, "Trust me on this. They're going to want to be there." And he says, "You know what? Let's do it." And I said, "It's a perfect way on the way home for the American teams. And then there's plenty of Canadian teams that got big blocks. So we booked the Brockville show on that Wednesday. And then let's put it together and let's go racing and let's see how it does."
Yeah. Definitely awesome to see him back, especially the Quebec area, because as you know, even with the ESS, like it is so much more insane up there. And
Yeah.
those people, like, they won't complain. Like, if you make it $60 to get in, they're not going to complain on the internet and stuff. They just go, you know what I mean?
It's amazing how many people go. It's just, it's the same with ESS. We've gone for so many years, and they do these light shows and do these music shows and presentations and everything. And, you always have the mystique about the border. I get that. But once they get into Canada, oh, they just love it. The fans are really, really awesome up there. Not that the fans aren't bad in the States or anything like that. No, but it's just a different culture up in Quebec. And then I think it's going to portray right down to Brockville and have a good feeling down there as well.
Yeah. One thing we were talking about in the Discord for the BRP iRacing series one night, and I thought it was an interesting little chat. Tell us, for people that don't know or maybe thinking about it, what is the requirement to be a platinum driver on the Super DIRTcar Series?
Well, it's interesting because we actually just tweaked the program today. We finally came to what we got to do. There
Oh, my.
really wasn't a requirement to be a platinum driver, because before they only really had 8 to 12 guys, and they really just signed on guys that said, "Hey, I'm going to do the tour," and they said, "Okay, let's come on." Well, the problem was at the time, though, a lot of guys would sign on, not a lot, but a few would sign on every year. And then when it comes to do the first Quebec swing, they say, "Well, we can't afford to go. We need to drop off." And I just didn't want to get there. I didn't want to do that. So when I took over the job in 19, I had some drivers reach out, and I said, "Look, we're not going to do this. We're going to have our word, and we're going to try to do the best you can to go to every race." And we wound up signing 14 drivers back in 2019, and it went well. I mean, actually, we signed 16. A couple did drop off, but just circumstances. It wasn't they were playing any games or anything like that. They were truthful, and they dropped off. But we finished with 14 back in 2019. Well, then COVID hit, and then we really didn't get in the full swing until again last year, where we had really kind of a full set of scheduling where we could do everything freely and all that stuff. We wound up at 18. We signed on. We finished with 16. So now what do? We have 16 that we finished. We have 14 coming back this year. There's always going to be a bunch of guys that want to join the tour every year, but we can't really go around and with 24 signed on drivers. So we have a nucleus now. Drivers are coming back, and then we got a few new drivers that want to come on in. So what we just did now is we have a platinum status. And what you do for your platinum status to earn that is you finished in the top 15 in points from the year before. Then to all the new teams, or if there's a team that's outside the top 15, we're going to make you gold status. So now we're going to have 2 statuses. Now, really, there isn't a lot of difference as far as the back end and provisionals and pay. They have the right. The gold drivers have the right for the provisionals and the full point fund and the guaranteed pay, because that is performance based anyways. That's all based on where you are in the points. What the difference is on the platinum is the passes and the perks that they get down the line at Super Dirt Week and DIRTcar Nationals and stuff like that actually come out of our pocket or out of the track's pockets, that we really have to kind of limit a little bit, because if we're bringing 24 drivers to the track and they're all getting 2 or 3 passes, the promoter's like, "Hey, what's going on here?" So we kind of had to find a little bit of a program that, complements the platinum, but also gives the drivers a shoot for to become platinum to earn during the year. Now, how many guys we're going to have total? Probably 19. I think we're going to be at 19 signed on between the two. And those are going to be the gold and the platinum is still going to have to sign an agreement that the promoter knows that it guarantees these drivers are going to come. And I think we're going to have a really good, strong series. We'll start announcing the new drivers as we sign them. Now that the agreements are done, we're going to fine tune it, get it ready, and I'm going to start sending out the contracts to sign the teams, and we're going to start announcing.
Man, that was awesome. I didn't know we were going to get some fresh info there. Sweet.
Yeah, well, you literally got the scoop.
Little breaking news.
Yeah.
Now, when a team asks to be part of the platinum, I am honest though. I've had teams say, "Hey, I bought a big block. I want to follow the series and be platinum." One big block ain't going to follow the series. We're going to have some realism here. Finances are going to be a key. Help is going to be a key. And of course, inventory and equipment. Basically, you got to have 2 cars, 2 motors just to start. I mean, we got a 23 to 24 race series, and then we got Ohsweken. We go down to Charlotte. I mean, you're going to put on laps on this big block, and also you have to run 12 races at your local tracks, whether it's 358s or it's big blocks. you still have to support a local track or local races 12 times. So you figure that into the mix. You're not going to do this with one car and one motor. So there are teams that I will say, hey, we can't sign you, but you know what? Let's come to 12 races or so. Get your feet wet. Let's see what you can do. Let's see how it is. Build up your inventory, and let's talk next year. I called it the Adam Pearson syndrome. That's what I do at Adam Pearson. In 2021, they kind of wanted to do the tour. They weren't quite ready. I knew they weren't quite ready, and they said, look, let's get your feet wet. Let's do some races. Let's see how you do, which they did, and then they came out lock, stock, and barrel next year. And that's what I'm saying to some other teams as well. I mean, it is a tough deal. They're looking at some of the guys that can do it, like a Jack Lehner or Timmy Sears. They don't have the biggest of budgets. Yes, they joined me back when it was a little easier back in 19, and they're still on. But it was a little bit easier making the starting fields back then because I was only bringing 14 cars. Now I'm bringing 19. And now that we raised a purse back in 19, we're bringing more cars that are picking and choosing. So making the race is not as easy. And you
Yep.
got to be realistic as that, because 2 of our provisionals for the platinum guys are non-paid. So when they take a non-paid provisional, if they're not high up in points, they really could go out and do 98 laps and not make a dime.
Yeah, that's
But they
tough
do
when
it to
that
get
stuff
points
happens.
to move up the point ladder
Yep.
so they can get guaranteed payouts. But a lot of people don't even realize that.
Mhm.
And you only get 5 provisionals a year. Oh, they
Mhm.
say this driver or that driver, it's unfair to get a provisional every race. No, they don't. You just think they
Yep.
do because it's perception.
Yep.
Once they hit their 4th provisional, they actually stop, load up, go home, don't run the race, and save it for Oswego because you're only allowed 5 provisionals. So there's that as well that a lot of people don't think. Are there a lot of teams out there that can do it? Absolutely. But I tell them up front, hey, this is what it entails. Are you ready for this? Or I'll say, hey, let's pick and choose, get your feet wet, and then let's talk next year.
Awesome.
So a driver I wanted to ask you about, Dean, was Max McLaughlin, who just made some news this week announcing that he's going to go try out NASCAR and run at Watkins Glen of all places, which is kind of funny that you would think it'd be. I wouldn't think a road course for that kid would be the first start he gets in an Xfinity ride. But just talk to us about guys like Max and Stuart Friesen and what some of those guys go from the series going and running big time stock car racing. What kind of attention that draws and what kind of fan interaction that brings in for Super DIRTcar Series.
Well, first, that's what you want the guys to do. You really want to see these guys move on and move up their careers. And first of all, if you ever see Max drive a golf cart, he goes left and right real easy. So I mean, there might be beer involved as well, but but that's the ultimate you want to see. Now with Stewart in his situation, I'm so glad to see Stewart successful because he bucked the trend. He wasn't this 16-year-old kid that had a lot of money that got to pay their way to get a ride to come into NASCAR. Yes, granted, Hallmark has money behind them, but Stewart was mid-30s and still proved, hey, it can still be done. They built the program up. They got the program to where now it is a title contender. And that is awesome. I'm so happy for Stewart to see that. We're happy to see Max do what he's doing now. And of course, he's had Whalen rides and he's had, ARCA rides before. And you want him to see that. But when they come back and race with us, oh, it's such a big deal. Stewart's really good. His PR department will let us know a couple days in advance when they're coming to a Super DIRTcar Series race, and they say, hey, you're more than happy to PR it. Do that for us, and we'll do it for you. And it's always a big plus because young fans don't know Stuart Friesen running around Ransomville back 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They know Stuart Friesen racing a truck.
Yep.
So then when Stuart Friesen's coming to your local track, that's a big deal. We've been around a while. We've grew up with Stuart Friesen, but it's all about bringing new fans to the track. Your nucleus fans are going to be there because they want to see good racing. So Stuart Friesen now is a great tool to bring new people to the track, and that's what Stuart Friesen brings now.
Yep. That's awesome. I've definitely seen Stewie diamond the corners at Ransomville and go last to first. So yeah, we've been around a while for sure. And where are they going to go next? Oh man, I thought of it.
How I always feel at the BRP League.
Oh no, that was
No,
going to be like last. But where?
Hey,
Oh yeah,
we want to save the
biggest
iRacing
difference. You're like, so you've two big series, ESS and SDS. One's sprint car, one's modified. Is there any like glaring difference between sprint car or modified racers, or like or in the pits or anything?
It's still family because you travel together, especially with the officials.
Yep.
The officials is awesome. That's actually the main reason why I took the job is because the staff was already in place. Dave Farney, Larry Woodruff, Mark Hitchcock. I mean, I already knew those guys, and then like God, I already got it already set. So that's really cool. The racing, ESS is more of a family atmosphere because that is more of a hobby type sport. That is people, successful businessmen or whatever, that buy sprint cars to go racing on a weekend. Super DIRTcar Series, even though there's not a lot of professional drivers per se, there's like 4 or 5, it's still got a more of a professional feel
Yeah, I'd
to
agree.
that because there's more money involved. I mean, it's a $200,000 point fund,
Mhm.
where the champions get 60 grand, which is the highest point fund in all of, dirt racing in the Northeast. So you have that there. But I'll tell you what, those guys I'm amazed at the talent level and amazed at the respect they have for each other on the track. That's the one thing that I think really, really surprised me was they are so competitive with each other, yet those cars go on the trailers looking like they are when they got unloaded on the trailers. I mean, there's, we had 2 nonstop features last year. We had 2 that were 1 caution, and we had 2 that were 2 cautions. That's amazing. There's 26 cars out there going like
Long
crazy
laps.
side by
That's the
side.
thing.
Yeah, and all out, and yet this is what we have, and that is the cool thing. So it is a professional atmosphere, still fun because you travel together, but I'm just amazed at the talent level on the racetrack.
Awesome.
Is there one track that you've had the chance to visit to yet that you haven't been able to bring the Super DIRTcar Series to yet that you want to put on the schedule? Something that sticks out.
Knoxville, plain and simple, Knoxville.
Yeah,
When everyone asks me that question, I go Knoxville, and it's like the mic drop. Yep, that's it. There it is. So matter of fact, we had meetings down in Charlotte
yeah, that's
in
fair.
January, and I put the bug into Brian Carter and said, by the way, my dream is to bring our guys to Knoxville. I don't know how we can do it or how, whatever. I want to bring these guys to Knoxville and race 2 days, like a Friday, Saturday, or whatever. I mean, it was still, believe me, it was great to do Eldora. It was great to do Bristol. I mean, those are dreams. So the next one now,
Yep.
I mean, it's Knoxville.
That's the true
Now in the
sprint car guy
Northeast,
coming out in you.
Nice.
I love it.
well, yes and no. I mean, it's still
You
the
were a
best. I
modified
mean,
guy first, right?
well, yeah. Well, that's the thing. I grew up with modifieds because I grew up in Orange
Yeah.
County Fair Speedway.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, when I moved up north, I
Yeah.
moved up in Syracuse because of Super Duke and because of the modifieds. But I always felt the coolest show is a modified sprint car doubleheader. I think that's
I
the
totally
coolest show.
agree there. Yep.
And that's what
Couldn't agree-
ESS brings. Yeah, so
Yep.
that's how we got into ESS, and I got to travel to different tracks and see modifieds at Granby, see modifieds at Ohsweken, or Sportsman Ohsweken at the time when we went out there. So I got to see that. But I mean, there's a lot of tracks. There's even some tracks in the Northeast that I like to bring the mods to. But we also got to protect our own. We have DIRTcar sanctioned tracks, so we got to make sure that we bring shows to them. And we do dab outside the Northeast and Canada a little bit just to get the brand out there. But we also got to stay faithful to our sanctioned tracks. So, I mean, there's a lot of areas I want to go, but I don't want to sell our DIRTcar sanctioned tracks short and take dates away from them as well. So, you got to have the balance.
Well, I think we better get into some iRacing stuff because I was talking with Doug Leonard a little earlier in the show or a little earlier in the day, and he was talking about he's like, I don't know, if you get Dean Reynolds going about iRacing, he might talk your ear off for a couple hours. The guy races like every night. So just talk to us about your love for iRacing and the success you found in the BRP. We've got you down for I think 2 podiums at least.
Yeah, feature
and
winner
feature
this year.
win, yeah.
Well, I wish I could race every night. I try to get on about 3 times and run 1 or 2 races if I can. First, the iRacing, I was an admin for a lot of leagues before that. When Steve Ovens had their Woodhull and Land of Legends League, they brought me in to be the admin because I race directed. Travis, I've race directed with ESS for so many years. And
Yep.
so I became an admin for about, for iRacing for about 2 years. And I said, I got to do this. I got to do this. And then when COVID hit, I wound up piecing together a rig and just started, doing a little bit of iRacing because even though you're working from home, you still had a little bit of extra time because it wasn't as busy because you weren't running races. I started doing some iRacing at night, and that's how I got the bug bit. I try to race, I do Monday, Tuesday and Thursday. I do try to do one race a night, or on Thursday, actually, it's normally 2 races. But that's all I could do. My practice is literally getting in and doing the 10 minutes before the BRP race, and there I go, and then go out. But I've just found a little bit of a niche where I got a little faster, and I just call iRacing my getaway, because my mind is always going. My mind is thinking racing, thinking dirt cards, thinking everything. I'm thinking all the time. Travis, when you put that headset on and you get behind the wheel, just like a real race car, you forget about something for an hour.
Totally. It's almost,
and
it feels more intense.
That's what iRacing does for me, and the friendships.
Yeah.
I mean, you get in a Discord and start talking and everything else. I mean, I think I'm friends with everybody in that Discord except for Pachalski, but Pachalski always has ways with everybody. I got to pick on him once.
We've
I
heard.
hope he listens.
You guys deep down are still friends.
Tyler.
You guys are still friends deep down. Come on.
So, but you know what? That's the coolest thing. And I've brought guys to real life dirt car races because of iRacing. Mm-hmm. And that's what you do get with that. You do get a camaraderie. And then Super Dirt Week this year, I'm good friends with a guy named Isaac Salas. He runs in the Coast to Coast League that I race on Thursday night. Well, he raced modifieds. He's really good at racing a 358 in a big block. And he wins most of the races in Coast to Coast. He says, I got to see these cars in real life. I got to see them. I said, well, the mecca of seeing these guys is Super Dirt Week. And then we started talking about it, and he's on a team, and they all started getting together, and 4 or 5 of them got together. I got them a hotel room on 7 North Street in Liverpool, and they're all sharing one room, and they all flew in, or one guy drove from New York to come to Super Dirt Week and enjoy it from Thursday on. Isaac Salas lives in Minot, North Dakota. And he came to Super Dirt Week and spent 3 days there, and he's coming every year now.
That's awesome.
Just to see the modified. So here it is, a correlation between iRacing and actual real dirt racing. There was one guy would have normally go to Super Dirt Week, but there was 4 of the 5 guys that would never step foot on Ohsweken if it wasn't for iRacing. And that's the cool part. And, if you have success in racing, we all want to win. That's the bonus. And, I mean, what was cool about winning that one race in BRP was, I'm going to say it. I passed Beagle and I passed Plank and to take the lead. So I beat the best. And just, 99 times out of 100, they're going to kick my butt. But we just got one, and it's a great league. It's a lot of fun. They do a great job.
It's tough
running it. Yeah, it is. It's tough. You guys with the telecast are awesome with that telecast. I'm proud to put our logo on it, and I look forward to it. 8 o'clock to 9:10 or whatever on Monday. I look forward to doing that. I send the link to my dad. My 81-year-old dad watches the iRacing telecast, and he'll even text me and he says, boy, you did a stupid move there, or nice run there. He'll critique me. And
like a true dad.
That's what you get out of iRacing. And on the dirt car end, though, it's a big deal to us. We're going to have the Syracuse Motorsports Expo coming up next Saturday, and we're going to have the iRacing game, the console game there, so people can race. And we're going to give out Summer Fast tickets to Fast Times on Saturday and Sunday. And it just attracts so many people to come, and hopefully maybe we'll talk to them. They'll talk to us. They'll come to Dirt Week, or even see a Super DIRTcar Series race at Ransomville, or however. That's just what you need to do to bring new people into the sport. And iRacing is filled with a lot of younger generation.
Yeah, absolutely. Something in kind of to go along with that whole iRacing thing, I wanted to ask you, we've talked about what track would you bring to the Super DIRTcar Series schedule. What track have you been to that isn't in the game yet that you would bring to the iRacing world?
It's funny. I get people to ask me that. Well, first of all, I want to see Ohsweken dirt and asphalt.
I totally agree. That's my first one too, because you get 2 right there, 2 tracks right there. Just do it.
You got Bristol, you got Lanier, and you got USA, and only Bristol's really a dirt and asphalt only. So Ohsweken needs to be in there. Ohsweken needs to be in there. There's so many unique tracks that I think would be, so cool on that game. I mean, one that you guys know that comes to mind, it would be Ohsweken. I think Ohsweken would be a good multi-groove track like that. But then when you start thinking about iRacing, Merrittville's kind of shaped like Weedsport. So Merrittville would be a good track on iRacing. So I mean, there's a couple of tracks that are so unique, like Tazewell. Many people don't know about Tazewell in Tennessee, but if you don't,
Bloomer's home track.
Get on YouTube and take a look at Tazewell. I believe it is the steepest banks of any dirt track in the world. and do that. And then one of them that I heard is coming is the Bellevue High Banks. I heard
That'd be
Ooh.
that's
sweet.
coming. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean, there's so many good dirt tracks out there and then there's some iconic tracks. We were talking about this last night in where the heck were we? No, it was Tuesday night in a Discord about. I wish they could bring back some of the old tracks that are closed down, like Ascot and Flemington and Reading. I wish there was a
Yeah.
way, iRacing could do that, but with their scanning so intuitive, I don't think there's a way you can actually bring that back and make it like the real life, though. But it would be cool if they could.
Yeah. All right. Last one for me is you're a bit of a race chaser yourself. I think your track count's pretty high.
Yeah,
And
168.
so 168 on the track
Yep.
count. Mine's only like 53. Man, I feel shame. But yeah, give us do you have one real memory of all your races you've seen that really sticks out? Like what, or a couple of them?
No,
Couple good
not
stories.
really a race, but maybe where you went in the track. The one when I got into track chasing, I never really had this situation that I had to get to the track because it was going to close down, and I had to get to the last race. And so this was 2019. We were at Albany, Saratoga for Super DIRTcar Series race. And the Super DIRTcar Series race was a massive weekend. We ran on Saturday. Well, on Sunday afternoon to Sunday early evening, St. Eustache, which is an asphalt track in Quebec, was running the last race ever. So I drove my personal car out to Albany, Saratoga, and then I stayed over and had just a short change of clothes. And then I drove up to St. Eustache, which was just north of Montreal, to see that event. And then the track shut down and now it's demolished. It's not even there anymore. So that's kind of the track chasing story that sits out because that's the only time I've ever had that. I'm looking for that where I see a track. Like now I found out this is the last year for Devil's Bowl in Texas. So I got to see if they're hoping that maybe they might do something in November or something that might be an event where I can maybe fly out and go there and say I've been there and then fly back, or something like that. But the track chasing is unique. I always try to do like one weekend during the summer. I'll go somewheres. During COVID, I went to New England because New York was shut down. So I wound up going to New England. I went to Thunder Road on Thursday, and then I went to Claremont on Friday, and then Saturday we got rained out, and then Sunday I went to Monadnock for a Whalen Tour race because it got rained out on Saturday, and he ran it on Sunday. So I went there. And then last year I took a weekend. I went out to Western PA. I went out to Dog Hollow, which luckily I got there because now I guess it's not going to open this year. And then I went to where the BRP tour was on Saturday. And oh God, I forgot the name of the track that I went there. And then I went to Path Valley on Sunday. So I usually take one weekend where my phone's always on my hip. People can always talk to me and call me and stuff like that. But I usually take a weekend away where I try to get like 2 or 3 tracks in. So I'm going to plan on doing that this year as well. And it's a lot of fun. I want to get to 200 before I go downstairs.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good goal.
I think it's doable for sure for you. We'll get you out of here on this one then. I've got the schedule for the Super DIRTcar Series in front of me right now. If somebody from Southern Ontario said, you know what, I can only make one race this year, just one night, not even like, oh, I can make it down for all 4 nights here or all 3 nights there, whatever. One race track that the Super DIRTcar Series has on its schedule that you have to get to for somebody from Southern Ontario. What's your pick?
Boy, you put me on a spot and I'm going to get 20 tracks upset here.
Yeah.
I bet.
Even if it's for the one night, I got to say this, though. You got to go to Ohsweken. Super DIRTcar Sunday.
I knew it was
Yeah,
coming
you
up.
have to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, all Super DIRTcar Series races are awesome. I mean, if you've never been to Ransomville, get to Ransomville. I mean, as simple as that. If you got
That's always one of my favorites.
do that. But if you have been to Ransomville but you don't travel, then the next closest will probably be Land of Legends. And go there. And stuff like that. But if there is one and you just want to have that feel, I will never replicate the mile. The mile always had that feeling, always had Super DIRTcar. But you know what? I tell people there's that feeling at Ohsweken now. It's a different feeling, but there's a feeling because you go there once a year. Campsites are all filled up. The parties now are all going on. You just know where the parties are now. It might be even our immediate area where we have the DJ and everything else. But when it comes to that $50,000 to win race on Sunday, and we did that flyover last year, and I think we're going to do it again this year. And That is
Ooh.
really cool. Just come to Ohsweken and get that feel, and then enjoy it at your local tracks.
Okay, I'm
Absolutely.
coming. See you there.
I think we're both on board for that one. I think
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a podcast on location sort of situation. So we're looking forward to that. Thanks for taking the time, Dean. This has been awesome. We'll let you enjoy a family night for you instead of a
Yeah,
racing night
it's a
for
little
once.
surprise
But
birthday party for Jason Barney's girlfriend tonight, so we're gonna do that. And then where are we Monday? I think Lernerville, right?
I think so. Is it Lernerville or are we
I'm
at?
not sure.
Oh, I should know. I have the schedule
Yeah.
Yeah, we
somewhere
got
here,
to
but
talk.
I think it's Lernerville.
Okay, so we just got to tell Jazenbowski not to knock me off the turns 3 and 4 during the heat.
Perfect. Good luck with that, but perfect.
No, but I
Awesome.
appreciate it, guys, and thanks. And like I said, I had a lot of fun in the BRP League and really enjoying that. And then I hope we get to see some of the guys out in the Super DIRTcar Series races as well. And if anyone has a question or whatever, I'm on Facebook. Facebook message me. It might take a day or two to get back to you, but if somebody has a question about Super DIRTcar Series or whatever, reach out and we'll answer it for you.
Awesome. Dean Reynolds on the Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast. And the checkered is out on another episode of the Southern Ontario Dirt Show. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe for future episodes. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Southern Ontario Dirt Show. Have a question for the show? Email us, southernontariodirtshow@gmail.com. Thanks for supporting local racing in Southern Ontario, and we'll see you at the track.